At the beginning of the episode, we see Lloyd Fron sitting with his father, Baron Arcos Fron, at the dinner table. Despite living under the same roof, Lloyd had skillfully avoided direct conversations with his father until now. Over dinner, he found himself contemplating what might happen if his father decided to interfere with his current project. Breaking the silence, Baron Arcos Fron leaned forward, his tone probing. "So, let's hear it. What are you up to this time?" Deciding to keep the conversation brief, Lloyd replied in a deliberately rude tone, "The pub owner ordered an own-all room, so I built him one." Baron Arcos Fron continued his questioning. "Are other people placing orders as well?" Chewing his food, Lloyd responded tersely, "You seem to know it all already." Ignoring the sarcasm, Arcos emphasized his concerns. "Remember, we must look after the people. I won't tolerate you lying to or tricking them." Lloyd assured him, "I'm not planning anything underhanded, so don't worry." But inside, Lloyd couldn't shake the thought that, no matter what he did, people always assumed the worst about him. As the dinner ended, he decided to leave. Rising from his seat, he thought to himself, run, and get out of here." Before he could leave, his father stopped him with another pointed question. "Is this because of our family situation?" Baron Fron continued, his tone both firm and reassuring. "You know I have eyes and ears. I understand what's going on. Don't worry, I'll get us out of this trouble. Just don't get too involved." Lloyd was reminded of a bearded man he had met years ago who had said similar comforting words. "It'll all be fine. So don't worry, just keep your head down and study hard." At the time, Lloyd believed him. Now, he thought bitterly, that man was a liar. Determined, Lloyd declared to himself that he would never let their financial woes make him miserable again. He urged his father not to give up, because he wouldn't either. As he walked out, his mind drifted to their current workload. 32 orders for Style A constructions and 57 for Style B. He had already collected half the payment for these projects. Meanwhile, the moneylenders, Meatloaf and Shylock, arrived unannounced. To Lloyd's surprise, they didn't bother greeting him, the son of the Baron. Watching from a distance, he thought, "Are these the menders?" Inside, the moneylenders confronted Baron Fron. Shylock's tone was sharp. "How much longer are you planning to put this off?" Meatloaf added. 5 days have passed since the due date. If you keep procrastinating, we'll have no choice but to take action." A heated argument ensued. Shylock suggested selling the Baroness and her ladies to a very nice place for a hefty profit. This was too much for Arcos Fron, who stood abruptly, his voice thunderous. "How dare you speak such filth in my home?" At that moment, Lloyd appeared behind Meatloaf, startling him with a hand on his shoulder. "Who are you?" Meatloaf asked nervously. Lloyd's voice was calm but firm. "Show me your warrant." Meatloaf stammered. "What do you mean?" Lloyd explained the law under the Royal Family and Nobility Act. Article 3, Clause 6. No one may enter a noble's residence without a proper warrant. Doing so is trespassing. Shylock scoffed. "I've never heard of such a law." Lloyd smirked. "Then let's find out together." Calling for Javier, Lloyd's trusted aide, he instructed him to take decisive action against the intruders. Drawing his sword, Javier approached menacingly, sending both moneylenders into a panic. Meatloaf protested. "Do you think you'll get away with this?" Ignoring them, Lloyd calmly declared, "We'll see whose side the judge takes." Shylock and Meatloaf fled in fear, leaving Lloyd and Javier alone with Baron Fron. The Baron was visibly upset. "What did you just do?" he demanded. "We can't afford the consequences." Lloyd placed a bag of money on the table. "This should cover a significant part of this month's interest. I was going to hand it over after collecting all the payments, but now seems like a good time." Baron Fron examined the bag and questioned whether Lloyd had taken money from the townspeople. Javier reassured him, "I'll ensure Master Lloyd fulfills all the orders. You can trust him." As they left the room, Javier asked Lloyd how he knew about the obscure law. Lloyd dismissed the question, saying he picked it up somewhere. In reality, he had learned it from the events of a book he once read. Reflecting on the situation, Lloyd smirked as the system notified him of a 6-point increase in Baron Fron's approval rating. With an additional 60 RP earned, he now had 61 points. Everything is going according to plan, he thought to himself. Lloyd Frontera, an aspiring summoner, reaches an empty field and begins his experiment. He asks aloud if anyone is present and instructs them to show the summoning interface. Upon pressing the start button, a dazzling magical system materializes, surprising him. He examines the intricate and extravagant circle and finds it both noisy and oddly small. Suddenly, a baby squirrel emerges from the magic circle, leaps toward Lloyd, and surprises him. Disappointed, Lloyd dismisses it as a dud. However, the squirrel responds with "Pedong," leaving Lloyd perplexed. The creature clarifies that it is not useless and offers its help. Skeptical, Lloyd jokingly suggests it could shoot acorns, but the squirrel rejects the idea. As Lloyd ponders the situation, the squirrel introduces itself as Pong, claiming to be a lovable hamster deserving of care. Pong spits out 2 pieces of paper, which turn out to be user manuals for its abilities. Lloyd feeds it a sunflower seed as instructed, causing Pong to grow into a massive hamster. Another type of seed shrinks it back to a smaller size. Testing the potential of Pong's abilities, Lloyd observes its enormous size after another feeding, realizing it could grow over 30 feet tall. Pong smugly begins digging a hole, showcasing its skills like digging level 1, packing dirt level 2, and cheek pocket level 1. Lloyd sees this as a jackpot and marvels at the practicality of such a creature for heavy labor tasks. Returning to his estate with a grand vision, Lloyd begins organizing construction efforts. He assigns 30 soldiers from his father's barony to move clay to the building site. Reflecting on his time in the army, Lloyd uses his authority to turn the soldiers into laborers for his ambitious project. However, one of the knights, Newman, confronts him about these orders. Newman, known for betraying the estate in the original storyline, questions Lloyd's motives, accusing him of exploiting the men for personal gain. Lloyd, anticipating such challenges, confidently counters Newman, citing his father's permission. The confrontation escalates when Lloyd provocatively throws dust at Newman. Offended, Newman accuses Lloyd of dishonoring him and challenges his authority. Lloyd, undeterred, proposes a duel, brandishing his shovel as a weapon. Newman, underestimating Lloyd, accepts the challenge, convinced that the frail young noble will regret his decision. In the next scene, we see Javier telling Lloyd, "So you're going to duel Sir Newman in 1 month's time. Are you confident you'll win?" Lloyd responds, "What? Are you kidding me? Of course not." Javier, clearly irritated but keeping his cool, listens as Lloyd continues. He's a mid-level knight with advanced sword skills and can use the Mana Heart ability. And me? I'm just some nobody. What were you thinking? Were you even thinking? Javier, staying calm, reflects internally. I almost lost my temper to suddenly provoke Sir Newman and challenge him to a duel. At first, I thought he was just being reckless again, but now it seems too calculated. He even asked the Baron to assign someone else to manage the soldiers, and now he says he's not confident? I can't figure him out at all. How frustrating. I wish I could just take him down. Lloyd interrupts his thoughts, saying, "Sir Javier, teach me how to use a sword." Javier, refusing, says, "First of all, my job is only to keep an eye on you. And second, if someone like you learns to use a sword, it could put everyone around you at risk." Lloyd counters, "So what you're saying is, you don't want to teach me, right? Even if it means I can help cure your insomnia?" Insomnia is a condition where a person has trouble falling or staying asleep. Javier was startled and thought to himself, how does he know about that? Meanwhile, Lloyd smirked to himself, "It's all in the book, and I even know the real cause of your insomnia." In the Blood and Iron, warriors are ranked into 4 tiers: Swordmaster, High-Level Sword Expert, Low-Level Sword Expert, and others. Javier was right on the edge of transitioning from a high-level sword expert to a swordmaster. He was teetering on the boundary between human and superhuman, his senses so heightened that sleep had become impossible. It was a side effect of becoming a swordmaster. Of course, Javier had no idea, being from the backwoods. Lloyd, however, pressed him, "So do we have a deal or not? No point in pretending. You look like insomnia itself." After a pause, Javier, "Fine, let's try." Lloyd grinned at his victory, but Javier snapped, "I know you'll fail. I've tried everything. Cognitive therapy, herbs, aromatherapy, exercise, even Eastern medicine. Nothing works." Moments later, Javier was sound asleep. Lloyd smirked and muttered, "Gotcha. I knew exactly how to cure your insomnia." He explained to himself, "You first fell into a deep sleep while listening to a magic spell. So what did I do? I read you my reinforced concrete textbook. Way more sleep-inducing than any spell." He couldn't hide his excitement. "Now your swordsmanship is mine." The next morning, Javier ordered, "Run 50 laps around the perimeter. Go." Lloyd complied without a complaint. Javier, visibly shocked, thought, "He's running?" Without arguing, as Lloyd jogged back, he grinned and said, "I don't like this. Teach me something useful." Running another lap, he teased. "You thought I wouldn't do it, huh? You figured I'd refuse so you could say, you don't have what it takes, didn't you?" Javier was getting visibly irritated by Lloyd's chatter. Just then, Lloyd received a notification. The passive skill, Annoying Beat, has risen to level 4. Your tendency to ramble is causing everyone around you to feel like slapping you. Annoyed, Lloyd muttered, "You made that up. Get lost." Still, as challenging as the training was, Lloyd thought, this is nothing compared to my life back in Korea. There, I'd wake up alone in a tiny boarding house room, spend my days hauling bricks to the roof of a 4-story building, and my nights unloading delivery trucks. All that just to survive. But here, I have hope, a chance to change everything. Compared to that despair, this is nothing. Impressed by Lloyd's determination, Javier finally agreed to teach him. A notification popped up. Javier's approval rating for you has increased by 1. You've earned 18 relationship points. Current RP, 29. In the next scene, we find Baron and Newman talking. The Baron tells Newman, "I can't believe his disrespect. You've protected our family for 5 generations. I thought he had finally come to his senses, but I was wrong. I have no valid reason to stop this duel. However, as my heir, don't go too hard on him. Teach him a lesson. Enough to knock some sense into him, but but don't cause any serious harm. Newman nods and leaves, but as he walks away, his thoughts reveal a darker side. Duels don't always go the way we want them to. What if I end up cutting off that cocky hooligan's head and killing him? And if the Baron tries to come after me for it, well, I'll just kill the Baron and the Baroness too, and stage it as a suicide. Once that's done, I'll leave this tiny village behind and head to somewhere bigger. That fool's just speeding up my plans. Newman smirks at the thought. Fast forward a month, and the duel is about to begin. Newman and Lloyd stand face to face, ready for battle. The Baron and his wife watch nervously, concerned about their troublemaking son. Newman taunts Lloyd, saying, "Are you ready, young master?" Lloyd confidently swings his shovel over his shoulder and replies, "Of course, I'm ready to knock your lights out." The episode ends here, leaving us on the edge of our seats to find out who will win the duel in the next episode. Hope you enjoyed this recap. If you did, make sure to leave a like on this video. I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.